Can everyone hear me? Tani? No? Yeah? No? Okay. Thumbs up? Okay, great. So, but yeah, I hope everyone's taking time out to ground themselves and utilize this time that we hope to provide to just share some information on the funding opportunities that the federal government has been providing. And I think there's also a miscommunication, as we have had from the very beginning of this, on how to capture as well as matriculate any funding that will support our businesses as they should. So want to introduce Camille, who is a proud supporter and a participant within the Black Women Talk Tech community. She is, oh goodness, what's going on? Sorry, y'all. All right, she is the director of the Brooklyn Women's Center and a founder of Pop-Up Plus. I also want to introduce you guys to Tani Chambers. She is the founder of Savvy Money, but also the New York City Black Women Talk Tech co-chapter lead, along with myself. Just to do a quick introduction about what Black Women Talk Tech is all about. We are an organization that is focused on providing a network and collective on how do we create a network of Black women founders that are trying to build scalable companies. So we try to provide resources, tips, tools, advice, and information so that we can be a strengthened community and a networked resource for founders that are looking to build the next billion-dollar company. So without further ado, I want to introduce Camille and Tani to take away the show, because you guys are y'all gonna reap some benefits from them, because they got all the tea and they here to spill.
Thanks, Brittany.
Thank you.
I'm so excited that to co-lead New York City with Brittany. She's amazing. She's awesome. Go look her up. And actually, when Outside opens again and we start our meetings, then we definitely want you guys to come and join us. We have a lot of things in store for you. But until then, we're going to be doing a lot of things virtually. So thank you for those who are here live, and for those of you guys who are watching the recording, thanks for taking time out. We put this together relatively like this week for a chapter meeting, specifically because there are a lot of founders and entrepreneurs out there who basically think that they do not qualify for the government funding that was made available as pandemic relief or COVID-19 relief. A lot of people have just counted themselves out, and we understand why. Like, there was a lot of confusion with the information. Daily, the information is changing, but there is still billions of dollars left. And one of the things that we must do, especially as Black female founders, in that everything that's happening right now to our community is sustain our business. We know that economic power is very important, so it's very important for us to sustain our business. So we thought that we really needed to make sure that everyone had the information that they needed, the correct information, they had clarity, and they made the best decision for their business. So not to just discount this and ignore it, because, you know, some of it is money that will end up being free. Some of it is not, but it's funding that you can use for working capital at an extremely low interest rate and really great payment terms. So we want to get down to it. So we asked Camille, our fellow BWTT founder member, to come because she is the director of the Women's Business Center, who is a SBA partner, SBA resource partner. So she's the person I call to get the tea about a lot of things and see what she's heard from SBA as we're like digging through all of the noise that's coming down. I have been researching this and digging this from the beginning. And I was one of those people. I was like, forget this. I don't want to do this. This is not going to work out for us. And when I decided to look into this, I was able to get approved for two of the main programs that everyone is talking about, but also benefits from at least 3 other opportunities that are there. And I expect to be able to take advantage of more opportunities as 2020 comes to a close, because there are other incentives that will come into play at the end of the year. So I want to make sure that everybody has this information, that you guys have it. I mean, I look at it as it's our money repackaged to us. And so now that we are in trouble, or we're navigating turbulent times, financially volatile times, we definitely need to take advantage of that. So Camille, we're going to really have the conversation, and we're going to talk about, different things. As we both experienced, me helping clients to navigate this space, Camille helping clients, and also working with the SBA to navigate and work on this space. So
yes, definitely.
I'm gonna unspotlight myself. Okay, Camille. All right. So Camille, you want to start with some things? First of all, do you have anything to say to add to that?
Yes, I want to thank Black Women Talk Tech for inviting me. As I said to Tani earlier, I have been a huge supporter of Black Women Talk Tech and its mission as both a founder and now as the director of the Brooklyn Women's Business Center. I just want to tell you a little bit about women's business centers, because they're often a resource that's overlooked. There are over 125 women's business centers throughout the United States. And we are in an amazing position because we are actually what they call resource partners for the SBA. So often a lot of SBA assistance programs, or particularly now during COVID, flow through SBA resource partners, SCORE being one of them, the SBDCs being another, and women's business centers. So we have taken the lead this time around to really encourage women and minority and people of color businesses to not only get this funding, but to expand their businesses. Our Women's Business Center, Brooklyn Women's Business Center, is located in East New York, but due to COVID, we are operating virtually, and we give virtual workshops. But I think our biggest specialty is really the one-on-one counseling that we provide. Often, people come to us with an idea, or they're trying to scale, or they're in the middle of their business, and they're shocked at the time we spend, over an hour, multiple sessions, just talking it through, helping them find resources, and also leveraging other nonprofits and other opportunities within specific states, or Brooklyn specifically, where we're located, actually the entire New York City, to get a founder what they need. So I just want to spotlight women's business centers because we're often overlooked, and we are a great resource. We have also been instrumental in this particular time with COVID, because many women's business centers are located in underserved communities. So we have been the primary, conduit for information for a lot of communities. I know with my particular women's business center, we're all doing a lot of things in Spanish language, because some of our communities are not served at all. So that's one important highlight for WBCs. In terms of CARES Act and PPP, EIDL, and all the jargon, SBA, federal government, there is still $150 billion that they're looking to allocate. So if anyone can try to get it, that's what Tani and I are here to discuss. So I think someone already put a question in the chat. Tani, do you want to start with questions first, or do you want to
Yeah, sure. Well, no, we can start with the questions. Let's get into it. I think, well, let me do this. Let me start. Let's first start talking about PPP, because I think one of the main reasons why we definitely, I'm sorry, did someone say something? Oh, that was you, sorry. I think one of the main reasons we want to speak about PPP is the deadline is looming. So what that essentially means is that the, brain freeze. The deadline is June 30th. They have not decided whether they're going to extend it or not because they still have a lot of funds. As of June 6th, there was $147.7 billion left specifically for PPP. Now, I've seen reports since then that said there was only about 120. And I think one of the reasons why it might have, the funding might have decreased so rapidly was because of the PPFA, which is the Paycheck Protection Program Flexibility Act that was passed just about a week and a half ago now, right?
Yes. Yes.
There were some things that were in that makes it easier, because if you had looked at the PPP first, it was, it was a little difficult for most people, so quickly, just some things that you need to understand about PPP as far as qualification, right? So I think that's the first question was like, what does PPP verification look like, and what authority agency will be conducting this verification? So I'll go over the process of PPP and understanding what the program is. So the program really is made to keep people employed, keep people employed. I mean, when you think about it, if the government can help you keep your business going, then they don't have to pay out money for unemployment, for other type of social services. Basically, they don't have to find money to take care of us. So they said, okay, let's put the money into businesses. So they came up with the Paycheck Protection Program to keep people in business. Now, the keep people employed. So now the key things were that you would get 2.5. So first of all, how they calculate how much money you get. You would get 2.5 times your monthly payroll. Okay. So if you are any type of corporation, then you're probably going to look to what we call your 941, your 944 forms. That's what you would need to be able to qualify, what you would need to provide. If you are self-employed or sole proprietor, or if you are a single member or partnership LLC, this is important because a lot of people have LLCs and they think that, oh, I'm a corporation, I don't pay anybody on payroll, so I don't qualify. Not true. The IRS looks at you as a sole proprietor. Yes, even though you're incorporated, the IRS looks at you as a sole proprietor. So one of the things you want to be able to, so with that, what they're going to ask you for is your Schedule C. So you have to go to, all these things are in your tax filing, most of you guys. So you want to make sure that's done. If it hasn't been done, which is fine because we had an extension this year, then this is the time to really start getting your paperwork together. So again, if you have a corporation, in order to qualify, you would need to show your 941 or 944. If you are self-employed or a sole proprietor, you would need to show your Schedule C, okay? Yeah. Now, a common question that people ask is, can I use my Schedule E for a PPP? And the answer is no. So if you have Airbnb, rental income from properties, yes, you're a business person, but they don't accept a Schedule E. Okay, so just a question I want to get out there because a lot of people were saying they do Airbnb and they do these things and they wanted to know if they qualify. No, it has to be a Schedule C. So, okay, so they take that information and they calculate it over 12 months, and then whatever your monthly payroll is or whatever your monthly income is if you're a sole proprietor, right? They multiply that by 2.5. That determines how much money you would get, okay? Because I know that's an important question. So we can all do that calculation ourselves. There's tons of calculators out there, so you can figure this out. That's one. The second thing that you're gonna wanna understand, what did I miss out, Camille? So
we talked about the forms.
The PPP, yeah, the forms that you need to qualify, how much you would get. Oh, and who do you go to apply, right? So the banks are who are processing this particular program, okay? The banks process this program. So you don't go to the SBA. The SBA had a lender match where they would send you, you can go on as a tool to tell you banks in your area. But the SBA does not decide specifically. That's not who you go through to That's not who you go to apply. You want to go to your current bank that you have a relationship with, if they're still accepting. That was a big controversy.
Yeah, in the beginning. Yeah,
that was a big controversy in the beginning.
We are finding, Tani, that more people are having more acceptances with platforms, fintech platforms like Bluevine, Lendio. So I would encourage everyone, since we're in the last kind of couple of weeks of PPP, to really look at the fintech platforms. We have had entrepreneurs come back who have applied through Chase and Citibanks, and I'm not trying to bash them, so don't say that I did, but they've had quite some challenges through the banks that gave priority to their more wealthy customers. And we do feel that that's still happening. So for everyone on the training, I would strongly encourage them to look at the fintech platforms. I would not encourage them to go through PayPal. We have had a lot of, we've had a lot of complaints about PayPal. And as I said, my job as WBC director, I'm not bashing these companies, but it is to inform everyone, the best lenders to go at this critical point. For those of you, there's some people who just joined, as Tani said a little earlier in the training, the PPP is ending on June 30th. So it's important that you get your application in now ASAP.
Absolutely. So that's good to know. And I think what we have to understand is that how we're navigating through these programs is through crowdsourcing. And as founders, as tech entrepreneurs, we know that crowdsourcing is incredibly valuable. So if Camille is saying, hey, I have a lot of customers who are having problems over there, then that's an issue. I personally, Bluevine has blew up because Bluevine was very quick on processing. And I want to give you guys a tip. I went through Bluevine. I was approved in 15 minutes, and the funds were deposited in my account in less than 24 the next day. The next morning it was there. So it was incredibly fast. But here's the thing, I want to give you a little tip about why that went through so quickly. Remember the forms I mentioned earlier that you need to have in place. Right? Those forms are like your Schedule C if you're self-employed or sole proprietor, and your 941 and 944. That's your annual and your quarterly payroll taxes, right? Your statement, right? That you give to the IRS. The reason why I was able to get through so fast and I have so many clients and colleagues that got through so quickly was simply because they had that information available, right? What happens in Bluevine, and they tell you this on their website, they say that their technology is able to automatically review these documents. If you're giving them written documents and things like that, that may cause the system to send it for manual review. And we all know if it's going to manual review, that means someone has to personally look at it. And just like the banks, they're inundated with a lot of people. So you want to make sure that you go ahead, get all your paperwork together. You need your some of the basic things that people don't have, which is, Camille and I discussed this, why a lot of people got denied or didn't get through in the beginning. Some of it was not the fault of the banks or the processors or the SBA. It was just that people did not have their paperwork together. Mm-hmm. So now more than ever is a good time to get it together. I have a client who called me today and she said, you can't tell me nothing. I got all my stuff together. And she hadn't filed since 2017. Okay. She was like, I can't tell me nothing. All right. She was so happy. So now she's able to go back and reapply because she had gotten denied before for one of her companies. So Bluevine, and this is primarily how a lot of the fintechs work. They have a system with the SBA where they're connected, where they can automatically review certain documents. So you want to make sure you have basic business information, the name of your business, the address of your business, your EIN if you have one. If you're a sole proprietor and you're not using an EIN, your social security number, you want to have your ID. Make sure your ID is not expired. Make sure it's valid. If it's expired, it does not matter. It is not valid. So that will stop you. Okay, that will put a halt on your things. You also are going to need, at least for Blue Vine wanted to see, you needed to prove, and this was to prove that you were in business in February. They wanted to see a February bank statement. So if you are, regularly taking care of your paperwork or looking at your revenues, then this is very important. You'll have it. It's easy access. So you have it, you put it in a folder, and literally at the fintechs, you're just dragging and dropping and filling out information. The information that they're asking for these programs have been streamlined. They're relatively simple. In the beginning, I'm sure Camille can talk to this.
It was a mess in the beginning.
She's had other people before the pandemic apply for SBA loans. I mean, the applications are long. It's a lot of information. Yeah. It's very streamlined. If you watch the hearings last week, the secretary said, listen, we did this, we streamlined it because we're asking everyone to self-certify. So essentially they're saying, you're swearing that this is accurate to the best of my ability. So because they just don't have time to process. We have 30 million businesses in the USA. Like, they don't have time to process all these businesses that are being hurt. So just to summarize what I was saying about PPP, expired on June 30th, so you need to get in now. They have not said they're going to extend it. And I want you guys to understand why it's so important for you not to assume they're going to extend, because when they did the PPPFA, which is the Flexibility Act, which I'll get into in a second, the entire bill was held up by one person. If you know now that they're not meeting, everything has to be unanimous that goes through, right? So one person held this up because they said they wanted to make sure that the June 30th date stick, because they wanted to extend it to the end of the year. And this one person held up the entire bill and said, no, not unless you guys keep it at June 30th. So they're basically, that person's like, we don't want to give out any more money. So you have to go in and get that money right now. You need to make sure you have all your forms, as I mentioned before, and all your basic information and your bank statements. It's really simple, and I would definitely go through the fintechs. I've heard good things about Cabbage as well.
Yes, I've heard good things about Cabbage.
Yeah, and your mileage will vary, right? Like if some people's like taxes and things are a little bit more complicated. You might be married and filing jointly, things like that. Sometimes those things need manual review, but there are a whole host of people who don't need that and can go ahead and get this money. Okay, so another thing Go ahead.
I also want to let everyone know, because we got new guidance today. Once you accept the PPP, and Tani, we can talk about this further. There is a forgiveness form that you are going to have to fill out at a later date. And that form is called a 3508EX. Easy. Sorry. Thank you.
That's the forgiveness form. It was 11 pages before. It's now 3 pages.
Yes, it's now been streamlined, which is one of the great things that comes out. So thank God the SBA is getting it together. Right. They start out big and then they tend to contract.
Right.
But it's important, and Tani, you can talk about this because her specialty is in finances and kind of making sure that everything is streamlined. Mm-hmm. Once you get this PPP loan, know that it is only forgivable if 75% of it is spent on payroll.
Well, and we'll talk about the PPPFA, right? It's actually been reduced, but go ahead.
Reduced, yes, right. but so I should have said that. It started out as 75% payroll, but as Tani said in the beginning of the conversation, the focus of it is more payroll than anything. So once you get the PPP, in order for it to be forgivable, so free money essentially, if you're following the rules, this can be, a great way to assist your business. And that's why we're really focused on not necessarily only the PPP, but the PPP is an opportunity for founders to keep their business afloat. So Tani, that's a whole other webinar on that forgiveness form alone, because I received it just yesterday, but maybe we'll have to set something up to go through it piece by piece, I guess. Oh, great. Someone in the chat is saying that this is super informative. And how does the forgiveness portion work for a sole proprietor? Tani?
Okay. I'm going to answer
Tani on this.
Yeah, I'll answer that. And before I answer that, let me just give you the details about the PPFA, the flexibility. So the new rules that just came out that actually makes it, the new rule that just came out that actually helps you. So I see Cheryl says PP is only if you have employees. Actually not true, Cheryl. Mm-hmm. If you are self-employed or sole proprietor, you can
apply for the PPP. I think that's probably the biggest myth that everyone, and there are a lot of sole proprietors out here who really needed that assistance who have not applied. So please, everyone, tell everyone, if you're a sole proprietor, you filed your taxes, you got your Schedule C, you are, you know what I mean? You can apply in this next couple of weeks. Oh, it was a question. Okay, no worries, Cheryl.
Yeah, Cheryl. That was a good question. So, yes, if you are a sole proprietor and a self-employed, again, you can apply. So listen, in the beginning, as Camille said, it was like you had to spend 75% payroll and 25% under for qualified expenses in order to get it 100% approved. And you had to do it within 8 weeks of them depositing the money into your account. So with last week when they passed the PPFA, which is the Flexibility Act for the Paycheck Protection Program, here's a few things that they did. First of all, the covered period, which is at 8 weeks, right, has been extended from 8 weeks to 24.
24, yes. I was excited about that.
Yeah, so like if you have a business and if you do have employees and you're trying to get your employees back, you have time to get them back, okay? And if you don't get them back, I'm going to talk about that in a minute, but that doesn't mean that you won't get your loan 100% forgiven.
Forgiven, yeah.
The next thing that I want you to know is the payroll requirement, it's no longer 75%, it's now 60%, okay? So it's 60%, you have to, in order to get 100% forgiveness, guys, in order to get 100% forgiveness, you have to spend at least 60% on payroll. If you have employees, that means 60% of the money went to paying these employees. If you're self-employed, at least 60% went to paying yourself, okay? The other 40% have to be paid on the qualified expenses, which are, mortgage interest, rent, utilities.
Yes. And that's pretty much it, yeah.
Right, and payroll. Now, what happens if I can't spend all of that? Well, that's when you have to repay it at the 1%, okay? Originally, you had to pay it back at 1% over 2 years. Now, with the Flexibility Act, they have extended it from 2 years so you can pay it back over 5 years.
5 years, okay? Which is great, yeah.
Excellent. So now listen, if you already got the PPP loan and you're like, well, how does this affect me, right? You're going to apply these new rules, except if you want to have your loan, if you have a loan amount left, if you are 100% forgiven and you have a loan amount left and you want to extend that to 5 years opposed to 2, you just have to negotiate that with your lender right now. You have to go back and negotiate that with your lender, and they have to update your terms. So you have to go back, and it's essentially up to them right now. So we don't know if something will change, but it's up to them. But we're trying to get 100% forgiven.
Yes.
Thank you, Natasha. Natasha said this is the best. That's great.
But you know what, Tani? We have had some entrepreneurs who had some confusion about this, got the PPP, but didn't spend it at all. because they were like, I need more than 75% or whatever, 65 now for payroll. So you can think of it as an infusion into your business. I mean, the last time I got a business loan, my rate was 8%. I don't know who's giving 1% loans at this point. So the key difference for everyone is to remember, if you want this to be free money,
right,
then you have to follow the rules and fill out the forgiveness form. But if you're using this, which some of our entrepreneurs have as a loan, it is a 1% loan for 2 years, as Tani said, and can be renegotiated to 5.
Yep. And so let's just say you did have some, employees, and as we know, another controversy, your employees are like, nah, I'm good. I'm gonna stay home and collect unemployment. I'm getting more on unemployment than working for you. If you have that issue, the government has said with the Flexibility Act now, as long as you can prove that you made a good faith attempt to get these employees back or replace them, then they will not hold that against you. They're not going to say, no, we won't forgive you. You just have to document it. Like, you want to try to send an email, make sure you're showing that you were telling these people, hey, you can get your job back. Exactly. So you want to make sure it's documented. Email, letters, etc., telling them they can get their job back and that they refused or you were unsuccessful. Okay. And then one other thing which is important, especially for employees and even for self-employed people, is deferred taxes. Now, before, under the original PPP program under the CARES Act, you couldn't defer taxes. Now, one of the benefits of the CARES Act is that you can defer taxes as a business. You can defer, not taxes, you can defer payroll taxes. To be very clear. You can defer payroll taxes, not taxes, right? You could defer payroll taxes over 2 years, right? Paying it half in 1 year and half in the following year. Under the original program, they were like, you can't do that with this program. Now they have said that you can. So that helps you to free up more, makes you more liquid and free up some cash flow in your business so that you can sustain now and deal with that later, deal with your taxes. So those are some of the updates to the program, which it's helping a lot of people because it gives you more time. In the beginning, it was just like rush, 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 go. It was like, and people didn't even know what to do. So it was a little crazy. But now with the PPP program, that's some of the things that you can do. Now, we were going to talk about something else, Camille.
Well, I just want to touch on the EIDL as well because...
No, something else about the PPP before I gave...
the carrying your losses.
No, for the PPP. Something for the PPP.
Sorry. I thought you were talking about taxation.
No.
Sorry.
Does anybody remember? If you remember putting it in, we were going to address something for the PPP. I think you were saying a lot of people, I know that a lot of people thought that they couldn't apply as sole proprietors. You can't. Oh, one more thing. Remember that if you have a corporation and you have, so in other words, you have an S Corp and a corporation, a C Corp, right? But you definitely need to, let me be very clear that you definitely need to make sure that you are talking to your accountant. If you don't have one, feel free to hit us up at Savvy Money. We can hook you up. But you want to make sure you talk to your accountant, your CPA about this. But if you have a C Corp or an S Corp, you can, oh my God, I lost my train of thought with my commercial. Hold on. If you have a C Corp and an S Corp with the PPP, and you are a sole proprietor, remember that those are 2 different entities. If you have multiple businesses, these are different entities. Each one is a different entity, guys. So it's like, I like to explain it like your mom, you're a parent and you have children. Each one of your children are different. They're all your children, but you have, Damien, Letitia, and Joanne, right? They're 3 different people. So with your entities, that can be the same way. So you can apply for each business. So that's a common question. People have multiple businesses and they want. You can apply for your business if you have a corporation or an LLC that's not treated as a sole proprietor. You can apply for that. And you can apply as a sole proprietor. Like, hey, this is my business, and my business does its own thing, has its own employees, etc. But I also am my own person, and I am my own business, and I make money. So something to consider. And I think that this week was a tremendous week with me. We're finding out people who were not applying, they only applied to their business, and they were like, you know, I can't get it. And I'm like, oh no, you can, you're a sole proprietor. And they went back and did it, and they got approved and so forth.
Yeah, there was a lot of misunderstanding around that.
Yes, so it has been an unprecedented time for sole proprietors and self-employed people. And I think that's partly due to the gig economy. So, you know, you want to think about that. Remember that that business is separate. So, all right, Camille, you wanted to start talking about the EIDL loan. Go ahead, take it away.
Oh, now my brain is freezing.
So let's talk about what is the EIDL loan, right?
Yes.
The emergency.
Yes, for economic injury disaster loan. I have to be very honest. I actually prefer this loan more than the PPP. This loan, they have reinstituted, great news, they have reinstituted the $10,000 advance. And that was what? Yes. When I went and did the application yesterday, I also got a prompt from the SBA saying that they've reinstituted $10,000 advance. Remember, before they were saying that they only were giving $1,000 for the employee. But I want to preface this on this webinar as someone who's a resource partner for the SBA.
Right.
I will keep you posted on what exactly happens. Tani mentioned earlier, and for those of you who came in a little later, that the SBA guidelines are changing daily. This is what I was given information about just today. So I'll keep you posted on that. But it stands for the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. It's 1% over 30 years. And you can apply if you are a sole proprietor or your business at the same time. So I love the terms. 1% over 30 years, who can beat that? But what I love about it, it's really more of operating capital. That can be utilized for your business. So PPP, we talked about that paycheck protection. You're, you know, in order to get it forgiven, you need to be spending 65% on the payroll. With the EIDL, I mean, there's still some guidelines and parameters, mortgage interest, you know, all that type of stuff. But it's great for businesses who just have operating capital needs.
So Andrea says, why do you prefer the EIDL? Does it have forgiveness option as well? Good question.
It does. It does not have a forgiveness option, but what I have found, and I can only give you feedback from the entrepreneurs that come through our Women's Business Center, is that the loan amounts from the PPP have been so low that they've almost been kind of like, but you know, let's get all the money we can get though. Like, so,
that's right.
So if you got $3,000 from PPP and you follow the rules and you're able to get it forgiven, then that's $3,000, you know, in your business. But I just prefer the EIDL because you can use it for operating capital, which if you are like a sole proprietor and you're like the one-man show and you don't necessarily have a ton of employees, the operating capital is really what you need to sustain yourself. So I guess, Andrea, it's really dependent on what your needs are. Now, if you have 3 to 5 employees and, you know, the PPP is a great option to retain your employees, but I find that the EIDL, because we work with our Women's Business Center with a lot of people who are single member LLCs, or, you know, they're a service business, they're the only one in that business, the EIDL has worked better for them. So those are just my thoughts. If you can apply for both, I would say apply for both.
Yeah. And so with the
what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so with the EIDL, I say apply for them all because I did.
Yes.
Get it, right? So with the EIDL, there's not forgiveness, and I think automatically people go, oh my God, no. But I think as Black founders, Black women founders who have a rough time raising capital, we all know that figure, that number. I'm not even gonna call it out there anymore because I'm not trying to put it out in the universe anymore because we're gonna get all the money we need now, right? I think that people think about it and they're like, oh, but it's debt. And I get that. But again, as entrepreneurs, as business owners, if you have a strategic plan for this, then in a strategic plan in your business, a revenue strategy, then you can figure out how to incorporate that loan in your business. So, and I want to give everybody an idea of like how much, that's right. Brittany said EIDL debt is better than credit card debt.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Yes.
1%. You can't
beat that. EIDL is 3.75%. But
how am I messing up my percentages, Tani? I'm on my thing now.
Don't worry about it. Camille has had a long day. She has to do it businesses all day. So I'm so grateful that she's here to be here. So I got your back, girl. You already know, right? That's how.
Thank you for the clarity.
Because I have my days too. I'm like, it's so much information. I can't remember. I don't know.
Yes, I'm on here now. Okay.
That's a tweetable, y'all. EIDL debt is better than credit card debt. Credit card debt is like and you can have great 800 score or whatever credit, and the credit interest rates are still at like 14%, things like that. You might be lucky if you get like an 8% on a credit card because you have exceptional credit or something like that. And because the interest rates are lower right now, have been lowered. But come on, most people have a 20 to 26% interest rate on their credit card. Mm-hmm. And here, I want to give you an idea of what $30,000 over 30 years looks like. $30,000 over 30 years looks like $150 a month. So think about that. Do the math, get to the calculators, calculate how much it would be and what you would be paying over 30 years because they're going to give it to you at 30 years. And then also remember that they give you this advance and they forgive the advance. Remember that. They forgive
there's a comment in the chat about that, Tani.
Yeah.
I think
someone, so you try to get the advance. Oh, so let's address that. Yes, Natasha, sorry, you were asking about that. So this is not SBA sanctioned this information. This is crowdsourced information, information from clients that I have and colleagues and people who have dealt with this and people who have, me getting on the phone with the SBA and having 5 different answers from 5 different agents, putting this information. So the last thing I learned was, and what we've come to as, our collectors that are talking about all this information is that what they were doing is they stopped giving out the advance and they were giving you, depending on the amount, they were giving you the entire loan, and part of that would be the advance and would be forgiven later on. I don't know how true this is, but this is what was told by agents. Okay. Yeah. I hope, I hope. Now, remember, we're waiting for Camille to get back and confirm, but I think that they are going to start giving out the advance again. And I'll tell you, because I applied for the EIDL. I want to share, I'm sharing this with you guys, being transparent. I applied for EIDL for one of my actual corporations, and the amount that they were giving us was so low, I kind of just was like, oh, whatever, right? Compared to what they were giving me as a sole proprietor, right? And they recently sent me an email after the hearing asking us to reconfirm our information because our advance was being reconsidered.
See, that's what I was telling you. So this is with the email that I got yesterday.
Yeah. So,
about the advance, the whole advance being reconsidered. Natasha, what I would do if you can is email disaster customer service at sba.gov and ask them, can they reconsider, or what is the process for getting your advance reconsidered. As Tani said earlier, the SBA, I love them, I do. They're my resource partner, but this process has been new for them. And so the information changes every day. And I think primarily because the EIDL loan is being handled by the U.S. Treasury. So it's coming directly from the government versus the PPP that's coming from different lenders. So that's what we've been told has been different about this entire process. I think this has never almost been done before at this scale. So they're still ironing out some kinks. So I would definitely email disaster customer service. They do have a 1-800 number, but I find that the phone people, as Tani mentioned, it depends. They're not as knowledgeable, I would say, but you can try it as well, which is 1-800-659-2955 to contact the SBA.
Can you put those in the comments?
Oh, yes, for sure.
Sure. So if you do plan to call, what I've learned is, I want to say, is that there's levels. There's a level 1 and there's a level 2, and there might be like a level 3 agent. So most of the time you're going to get to like a level 2 because they know level 1 is just like basic information. Like, you know, like they really can't answer much. And then you get to that level 2, they actually can pull up your stuff and answer questions and things like that. That's if you got time. If you got time, then go for it. You know, put it on hold while you're doing something else. And when they answer, just, you know, ask them the questions. Then after you do that, hang up, call back again, and do the same thing. And see what answer you get the next time around too. But it's, you know, nothing against the SBA. I said this from day one, like this is unprecedented. They haven't been able to deal with this. They've never dealt with this, so they don't know. If you watch the hearing, you know, Madam Administrator, you know, she was getting the business.
Yes.
She was getting the business.
She's catching heat. Yes.
Catching a lot of heat. And I think what I saw after that, which was encouraging to me, was that after our representatives actually doing their job, right, were asking them why these things weren't open. This is the oversight committee, right, who are saying, why weren't these things done? This is how we approved this in Congress. Why did you change up rules? You weren't supposed to do that. I seen immediately we started getting a shift. You know, like people complained about the PPP Forgiveness application being too long. I didn't really get that. It wasn't long. It still was
short. Yeah.
It was short. It was just, it was information teaching you how to fill it out. And, you know, whatever, you know, and a worksheet. But anyway, they felt, since the secretary felt like, since, you know, he said he looked it over himself and he said, since people are complaining about it, fine, let's find a way to make it even shorter. And I guess it's intimidating. You get this file and it's 11 pages, you're like, oh God. And as entrepreneurs and business owners, we don't have time. We don't need more things put on our plate, right? So they made it easier and shorter, and that's good. And that's available now as well. So with the EIDL, let me just go over again. I want to talk to you about how the information that you're going to put into your, for the EIDL, and also we'll talk a little bit about how they calculate it. Camille, did you find out anything about the actual?
I emailed them and didn't get any information. I'm sorry. I emailed my district lead.
Okay. No. So, with the EIDL loan, you can get loans up to $2 million. That was another thing. They were like, why are you capping loans at $150,000? We gave you more than enough money. And now here we're about to start ending these things, even though the EIDL doesn't end until, is that September 30th, the end date for the EIDL?
Yes, September 30th.
Yeah, September 30th. Okay, good. So you can
apply. We don't know. You know, everyone should keep them posted. There's talk of a second wave of Corona. So, you know, the SBA is in constant, do we need to change mode type thing. So these, as you said earlier, Tani, these dates are, I mean, take heed to the date, but they can possibly change in the future.
Right. Or not, because
the
economy is getting better. So and that's the point of this. They're like, no, the economy is getting better. Go to work and get, you know, start, you know, we gave you money to title your business. So that's why we shouldn't wait. That's why we need to take action now. As entrepreneurs, we know that. Like, it's about taking action and going for it, right? If you apply for the EIDL and you feel uncomfortable, you can always reject it. Like, there's paperwork and things that you have to look for. There are stipulations that are very scary when you get the EIDL, when they send you the contract. Me personally, I was just like, what they coming after me for? okay, let's go, you know. But
as a resource partner, I'm going to tell you to.
But I am following
the stipulation.
Right. I am following the rules, and I think that we also have to lean into our innovation. Okay, like we can't be afraid. A lot of times we're afraid, and I get why, you know, because we're targets, right? We feel like that, and we don't trust the government. And that was also talked about in the hearing, you know, that the people do not trust the government. And I think that stuck with them, the secretary and Madam Administrator, because they were like, okay, you know, this is not good. And he reassured us that they want to forgive everyone's loans, you know. And another thing about PPP, why I'm telling you guys to go apply for it and get this money, is also the banks have come together. Two of the two largest bank representative associations have come together, and they are lobbying the government to do a blanket forgiveness of all PPP loans, $150,000 and less. They said they have proven that it is going to cost more to actually process all the forgiveness than it is to just forgive the loan. That the paperwork and the amount of people that they're going to have to hire to go through, you know, so far they've had almost 5 million loans given out for PPP. That's a lot of loans to process, that that they're lobbying for blanket forgiveness. So
fingers crossed.
We're hoping, right? It just might make sense. Like, resources are better put elsewhere than pushing paper, right? So we'll see what happens. Anyway, some quick tips about the EIDL: up to $2 million. The $10,000 up to $10,000. Let me say advance that you get. We don't know what's happening with that, but up to $10,000, that is forgivable. It's a grant. You don't have to pay it back. It's an advance that you don't have to pay back. If you get approved for the loan, you do not have to accept the loan. You can review the terms, and if you're comfortable, accept them. If not, you can, you know, say no and keep it moving. When you get your offer, you select the amount, you accept it, and you have 30 days to respond. Okay. Okay, we've got Brittany. I'm not sure when people are coming on right now, like their mics are on, so I'm not sure what's going on. It's okay. It's a 30-year repayment terms, up to 30 years. And the interest rate is 3.75%, or if you are a nonprofit, it is 2.75%. Okay, so the advance is okay. Shai is asking which one is the grant. Okay, when you apply for the EIDL loan on SBA.gov, right? It's going to ask you, do you want to be considered for up to $10,000 advance? Mm-hmm. That advance is
the grant.
It can become a grant.
Can become one, yes. Mm-hmm.
It becomes a grant when you process your application, okay? Mm-hmm. Once you process your application, and if they deny you, you don't have to pay the money back. If they approve you and you decide not to take it because you don't like the terms, you still do not owe that money. So that's it. Otherwise, the PPP, as I said before, is the forgivable loan. Okay. So any other questions, guys? Drop your questions in the. You're welcome, Shai. Please drop your questions in the chat. All right. Now here's some things. I know we had some people that mentioned about being self-employed. So I just want to bring up unemployment. Oh, before we get to unemployment, Camille, let's talk about New York-based loans. I know this is the New York chapter meeting, so a lot of people here are chapters, right? Wait, Natasha says, how do you do the 941 as a sole proprietor? You don't have to do
yes.
You don't do a 941 as a sole proprietor.
No.
You only do a 941 as a corporation.
Yeah.
That's payroll taxes.
She's saying Blue Vine asked. That's weird.
What did you put that you were? If you are an LLC and a single member, when you go in, you should select sole proprietor, not LLC.
Yeah, you should only be having to produce a Schedule C, right?
Yeah. Yes. If you're a single member LLC or partnership, what you want to do is just click sole proprietor, because that's how you're looked at from the IRS. And once you put LLC, they're looking at you as the business, so whatever. That's okay. Just don't worry about it, Natasha. You can just try to go back, or you can call them on the phone or send them an email. I wouldn't suggest calling any of these people because everybody's inundated, but you could try to send them an email and tell them that you made the wrong selection. Or here's another thing, guys. A lot of these companies, especially the fintechs, you can try to tweet them or send them a DM on Twitter. A lot of them actually respond. So, okay.
Yes, I wanted to talk about the New York Forward Loan, Tani, which
can I just say one more thing before you
sure,
get to that?
go ahead.
As far as the PPP, if you have not filed your taxes, okay, let me just say this. If you haven't filed your taxes in 2017, then get your stuff together again, because you are basically not going to qualify for anything. You've essentially missed out on your on a stimulus package, you know, on a stimulus check if you make under, you know, $100,000, right? You are not going to be able to apply for any of these programs because they're going to be asking for information from 2019, basically from 2019. They're going to ask you about information for the 12 months preceding the disaster, which is 2019. So if you have not filed because the 2019 has been extended, you can work with your CPA or accountant, or if you want to figure it out yourself, you can produce a draft for Bluevine. I'm not sure about the other fintechs, only from my experience with Bluevine. You can upload a draft and say, hey, here's my current draft. I have not filed yet, but here's a draft, of your Schedule C, and they can use that to process your application. So if you haven't filed your taxes yet, you can do that. Okay. So Camille, you want to talk about New York?
Yes, just really quickly, I want to tell you all about a new opportunity called New York Forward Loan. And it's for those of you on this training that actually got denied for PPP or any other federal assistance. This is another opportunity for you to apply for aid, and it's aid from the state. And it's great because they're actually targeting people who have 20 or fewer employees. So that takes a lot of competition out for small businesses, and they really want to hit the micro businesses, home-based businesses. So again, if you didn't get approved for PPP, I think you could have gotten approved for EIDL, but it's definitely, if you were approved for PPP, you don't qualify for this. But if not, look into this loan, New York Forward Loan, and I'll make sure to drop the link in the chat. It's through Empire State Development, New York State. The banks that you work with determine your interest rate. I think that's the only thing for me that I'm on the fence about. They do give a range, but what's great about it is that it's a loan to support your reopening. So you can buy inventory, you can spend it on marketing, you can do retrofitting, like if you have a physical location or something and you need to do social distancing, you can apply for this loan. So it's another great option. And of course, you can contact us at the WBC if you have more questions about it. But we have had a lot of people who have gotten denied for PPP, Tani, and so this is a great opportunity for them to try again at getting some working capital.
Yeah, there were some other loans that originally came out based in New York, but they were quickly depleted as well.
Quickly depleted, loans and grants.
Yeah, loans and grants. So, and just speaking of grants, guys, just a little, there are a lot of grants that are coming out right now. There were some that came during PPP, and there are a lot that are based on social justice, racial injustice for Black people. So there are a lot of grants coming out, but I want to just tell you guys quickly, as soon as you see it, click and go.
Can you drop some in the chat? I want to get, oh yeah, Glossier, I did hear of that. I see a lot of focus on beauty. What's up with the retailers and the e-commerce folks? We're not getting no love.
I think Glacier, you could be a retailer too, like
I thought it's only beauty brands. That's what they said in their application. Only
I'm not
beauty.
sure. I didn't go through it.
Thank you, Brittany, for putting it in there.
Thank you guys all that have been sharing the information and putting links in the chat box. We appreciate it. I know Brittany is glad for the help too. And thank you, Brittany. Any other questions, guys? Any other things that I think that we should mention? I mean, besides, I'm going to reiterate it together. This is the perfect time to get your finances and all your paperwork in order.
Yes.
Don't be afraid of it. Like, technology is your friend. You know, we at Savvy Money, we have not launched our software yet, but we have a team of experts that's willing to help you, from accounting to CPA, or, you know, just talking to me, getting more information, developing a strategy. That's one thing I want to tell you guys also with these loans and grants. Read all the rules and develop a strategy, a plan. Okay.
Yes.
Definitely develop a plan to
I definitely
use all this money and what you're gonna do. Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I definitely want to shout Tani out, because Tani, even as a WBC director, was telling me stuff that I should know, because I am both a founder and a business owner and the director of the WBC. So if you all are not following Tani and, you know, on Instagram or on her mailing list, I'll do her shameless plug. She is a very valuable resource when it comes to all things finances. So make sure that, you know, you get with Tani, because she got me all the way together, ladies.
You know, it's so much information, and they're changing constantly. And I just decided, as, you know, for me as an economic inclusion and equity advocate for us, you know, I have something launching soon that I'm so excited about, that's for us, by us, you know. And I'm an advocate for economic and financial inclusion and equity. So I made this my mission, because are we seeing the numbers right now? Like, the numbers that of how the Black businesses are disproportionately affected by COVID. We're affected in our health, you know, we're affected by everything. Everything. It's like, you know,
police brutality, run down the list. Okay?
I mean, it's crazy. It's like, you know, there's Rona running around here. People just want to sit outside in the stoops, hit some police, you know? So for me, I was like, listen, I need to make sure that we keep getting this information out to everyone. I know everybody on my Instagram, all my friends, is tired of me talking about this, but I'm going to keep talking about it till y'all get it and y'all get this money, okay? Get this money. So, because the best thing, people need to understand that economics, being a business owner, we play a pivotal and important role. We are in a capitalist country, guys. Like, this is a capitalist society, capitalist country. It's all about the money. So we have to make sure that another form of protest for us as founders and entrepreneurs has to be to sustain our business. To stay in business. That is my mission, to help as many people stay in.
We got to get our piece of the pie, Tani. Tell us.
Right. We got to get out a piece of the pie, our own pie, the pie they owed us that everybody ate and it belonged to us and we didn't get a piece of all of it, okay?
Exactly. Goodness. Like, I see a lot of, this may be controversial, so let me see how I should put this. But, you know, I see a lot of...
edit this video before we send it.
Well, you know, I just say a lot of, I see a lot of celebrities and stuff kind of stepping up and giving to Black Lives Matter and a lot of these organizations, but I would love to see them given to an entrepreneurial pot where Black businesses, you know, there's not enough emphasis. You know, I see people sharing the mic and I see people outing editorial people, but the real key to our economy and building entrepreneurial wealth is for Black people to build business. And this is, you know, something I'm very passionate about. So if I don't know how we get that into the conversation, you know what I mean saying? Because building Black economic wealth is part of the challenge that we have as a community. And once we build that, we'll begin to see things kind of change for us. So that's just my soapbox.
Thank you guys. I really appreciate the inspiration. That is what you're providing. And I think just harping over what you're saying, like our very existence is resistance, right? And so how do we sustain our very existence? And that's by the means of these resources, our networks, our community, by making it a robust infrastructure that it cannot fall. So and to wrap all of that up, thank you guys so very much. I really would appreciate and would love if everybody that participated drop some ones in the chat box and show your love for our panelists. And I really appreciate you guys showing up today. I also want to just do a quick screen share on how to further or to do follow-up contact information with Tani and Camille. So 1 second.
Also, what was your quote? Our businesses are resistance. I'm sorry. What did you say, Brittany? I'm gonna put that on a T-shirt if you don't mind.
Our existence is
our existence is
resistance. I love it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So one thing before you get into that, one thing that we just didn't mention, and I want to mention it to people, is that especially if you're in New York, and if you're a sole proprietor again, or even if you are, I'm going to say this mostly for sole proprietors. I'm not going to say people with businesses, with corporations. But if you're a sole proprietor, you should consider applying for unemployment. Okay? It is unprecedented. They're giving it. Go get the money. You can get it backdated. You can go apply today and say that I've been affected since March 1st or whatever, from the day the disaster hit and that you stopped working. Okay. Don't be afraid to go get unemployment, because that is definitely free money that you don't have to pay back, one, but you do have to pay taxes on it because it is income. So remember that. Okay. Also, with talking about paying yourself, if you take the EIDL loan and you want to use that to pay yourself, there's a key thing. Remember, before you accept that EIDL loan, or before you spend the money, accept it, right? That you read all the documents on what you could spend it on. So a lot of people think that, I can just pay myself. You can, but you can pay yourself as a sole proprietor or a single member LLC for services rendered. So that means basically you need to be working on your business. You need to basically be invoicing your business yourself, I guess, whatever, and keeping a document of the work that you're doing, which is what we're doing. We're getting this money not to sit around, but to build our businesses, because I don't care how much they give us. $2 million is not enough. We are building, this is BWTT, the next $1 billion founders, right? So we're thinking bigger than that. So just make sure that you read everything. But I wanted to make sure that that you should apply for unemployment. You cannot have unemployment and PPP at the same time. So if you get your PPP, you pay yourself, and when the PPP runs out, you can, if you're still in a situation your business is not running, you can apply for unemployment and get that money, and vice versa. If a lot of people they applied for unemployment first because PPP was going through what they were going through. Then once they got PPP, they stopped and began to pay themselves with the PPP. And then some people took EIDL and they're paying themselves because it just works out better. So explore everything, guys. Explore everything and make sure you know all the rules and everything for everything. Read through everything. So these are the main things for founders and entrepreneurs that we wanted to mention. Sorry, go ahead, Brittany.
Thank you so much again. Just to recap, we recorded this webinar and we will be sharing it as a replay. Probably release it on Monday or something like that. We'll also be providing some cliff notes of the things that were discussed in today's webinar. So if you missed anything, or you came in on the end, or you came in on the middle, don't worry, we got you covered. The second thing I wanted to do is I'm going to do a quick screen share for follow-up information to follow up with Camille or Tani. If you have any additional questions, or ask them for the help. They got all the T's, so just right? So these are some Instagram plugs for them. as I mentioned,
thank you, Brittany.
Yeah, so Camille is the founder of Pop-Up Plus. She is also a resource partner with SBA for New York City and for Brooklyn particularly. And then Tani is also the founder of Savvy Money, but she is also the co-chapter lead of Black Women Talk Tech for the New York City chapter. But those are some, some plugs, and y'all can follow up with them if you got any additional questions. The final thing I wanted to announce is next Thursday, we're going to be hosting and facilitating our second BWTT New York City Chapter webinar, and that's going to be focused on crises management. So we talked today all about money, how to get the bag. Now, once you got the bag, how you going to use that bag to fulfill the objectives of your company. And I think particularly right now, we're still in a pandemic where whether we fighting, the police or we fighting this virus, we fighting, right? And so we're constantly in this constant state of crises or of rage as well. So I want to make sure that I can provide a tech stack, which is like similar to your pitch deck, but a template that you can utilize and apply to your businesses and how to create a resiliency plan for your company. So tune in next Thursday, same time at 4 p.m. and we'll be able to, figure out how we're gonna spend this cash and make it last,
And so let me just edify Brittany for a minute with this. I'm very excited about this. If you guys don't know, Brittany's amazing. She's a data scientist, right, and researcher. So she knows all the data, very analytical. She has a military background. So when I say crisis management, she is like the best person as a founder also to talk to us about this. Like, we are in a crisis, right? Like she said, corona, police brutality, racial injustice, like we're fighting. And so we need to learn how to manage our businesses and in this crisis. And she's going to walk you through it. I've had a peek at the presentation already and it is popping. So please make sure that you're there. You're going to be added to, if you are not, you're going to be added to our mailing list and, show up. That's the first rule of success. Show up. Get this information. All right, back to you, Brittany.
Y'all got anything else?
No, but keep in touch with us. We have a lot of stuff that we're planning. So for New York City, so keep in touch. And if anything,
well, I would also say that I just want to encourage all the entrepreneurs on the on this webinar. You're going through a really, really rough time. Even if you just need to contact me just so I can listen, I'm here. The Women's Business Centers are here, and anything we can do to support, because sometimes we just need to talk it out. So I just want to encourage all the entrepreneurs, just don't give up.
Yes.
Way to end it. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate all that you shared. We're going to close out. If you have any additional follow-ups, shoot us an email, send us a DM, whatever the way you want to reach out. Do that. Thank you.
Thank you.